What's popping? Man, remember that joke? Yeah, I remember that joke. Who doesn't remember that joke? It's a classic of of history. I don't know. Hey, what's up, Friars? What's poppin'? I I've been thinking about something. How do you guys say soda or pop or whatever? Do you guys say pop? I'm from Ohio, and here it's kind of mixed. But due to the fact that it's in the Midwest, many people just call it pop. Pop soda. No one really calls it cola, and nobody calls it Coke. Wow, that was loud. Unless if you're, drinking Coca-Cola. But despite that, there's still like a decent amount of terminology for this one word. And I think that's really interesting. People get really bent out of shape over this as well. The people are like, no, it's cola, no, it's Coke, it's pop, it's soda. It doesn't matter, regardless. But still, people get like really, they get all out of sorts over it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess it's fun for people to just get mad over things that don't matter. But regardless, I think it's really interesting because we're literally saying the same thing. We are all collectively saying the exact same thing as one another. And yet, we all get like really freaking. We get really competitive. We get territorial over, no, it's cola, no, it's Coke. And at the end of the day, it's all of them and none of them. I mean, there's probably a scientific and legal term that it is. I mean, but by that logic, us not using like the standard, the Oxford standard. I don't even remember what it's called. Where there's like 3 different names everything in science gets, and it's like the domain, the I don't freaking know. I wasn't a science guy. I'm not a science guy. I like history. History's cool. It could teach me the science and the history of the terminology of the cell. I don't know. Regardless, I think it's an interesting conversation because naturally it's something that people talk about to the end of the earth. I do not have a thing. People talk about it to the end of the earth, right? They get really upset over if it's soda, cola, pop, whatever. But we're all saying the same thing, and to an extent, it's just people wanting to debate. It's people wanting to have a conversation or to just get angry at something. Because, yeah, that's valid. Sometimes I just want to get pissed off at something, and that's completely reasonable. But I still think that it's something like it's such an interesting discussion. How something can be functionally the exact same thing, but it can be said as different, right? Because is that a difference? Is that like an actual difference? Obviously it's different in presentation, but it's not different in function. Regardless, you're just drinking the same thing. You can call a root beer, a pop, a cola, a soda, or a fizz bop, or whatever the frick other people call it. I don't know. Ethnic names for soda is always funny, but it doesn't really matter, right? You're still gonna be getting a soda at the end of the day. Unless if you're one of those weird people that ask for a Coke and it's not Coke. Like you ask, hey, yeah, can I have a Coke? And it's a freaking Pepsi or something like that. That is something is wrong with you. But still, we're asking for functionally the same thing. We are all knowingly like requesting the same thing, but the presentation of it is different. And I think that is a really interesting concept because is that a genuine difference? Is that an actual difference. The way that it's presented is certainly different, but the core of it is not. And so, what makes something an actual difference? Is something like, for instance, is like an apple, but like an orange. Okay, what am I talking about? Oranges like taste different. A mandarin orange is gonna taste different than a not mandarin orange. I honestly do not know the difference between oranges. There's just big ones and small ones, and the small ones are mandarin oranges. But regardless, they're the same thing, but their name is different, and their name is different for a reason. After all, if you ask for like holy crap, if you ask for a normal orange and somebody gives you a mandarin orange, you're gonna be pissed because that's not what you asked for. A mandarin orange is like the 10th the size that a normal orange is, and so yeah, you reasonably should be pissed off at that. That is a fair thing to be mad at. But as far as it goes, soda's soda, pop is pop. There's differences, but at the end of the day, if the presentation is the same, or if the core of it is the same, what does it really matter, right? And I was thinking about this because I think it's far more interesting whenever you get into things that are different. Whenever you talk about pop, and people can agree that like, oh, I want a pop, right? And then they say I want a pop, and then I'm like, oh sure, I'll also have a pop, I'll have a soda, whatever you want. And then they give me a freaking what do they call it? There's the idea of a soda. It's just carbonated water. A LaCroix. Ah, God, do I hate LaCroix. LaCroix are just sodas that can't commit to it, right? Like if I'm gonna drink a soda, it's not gonna be good for me. I know it's not gonna be good for me. So get out of here with your LaCroix. Oh, it's good for you. Shut the frick up. It tastes like nothing. It's not good enough for you to justify how bad it is. It's the idea. It's a respectless idea of something that is good. It's a bastardization. It is. It's not real. It's so dumb. But somebody could give me a LaCroix and say that it is a pop, and they would be wrong. But I guess by definition, they're not. I mean, it's a carbonated drink that has flavoring, I guess. It has flavoring, and it is, after all, a carbonated drink. But does that really make it a pop? My definition of a pop and your definition of a pop can be different. So even if I call something a soda and you call something a pop or whatever, and if we mean the same thing, isn't that like the actual thing that matters? Isn't that actually the important part? Welcome back. Regardless, I think it's interesting because as I was watching this interview for Anthony Padilla, I was thinking, I was just thinking about this because, on a surface level, I would say that me and many other content creators are very similar. We're small content creators, and for instance, I'll just use Jay Schlatt as an example because that's the easiest example that I can think of. Me and him seemingly very similar. We both grew up on YouTube in the sense where that's all that I used to watch. YouTube is my family was not the most wealthy whenever I was a kid, and while we did have things like Netflix and no, that was it. It was we had Netflix on the Wii, which is goated, by the way. That is a staple of every good childhood. Netflix on the Wii. But despite that, I would watch YouTube. That's what I was raised on. I would watch TF2 YouTube, Minecraft YouTube, MLP stuff, you know, a whole bunch of different things for a curious mind because it was so accessible and it was, you know, high quality. And so that's what I watched. And so in that sense, me and Jay Schlatt, you know, me and the Schladster, we're pretty similar. We have similar senses of humor. We have similar styles of going about things. I mean, honestly, I think that he's one of the most respectable creators on the platform. But despite our similarities, you know, our starting similarities, where we both make like, we both make this kind of I don't want to say introspective because it isn't, but we both make sort of serious videos about like topics that we find interesting, and they're just serious videos, you know. Narrative. That's the. Oh, actually, can you bring me back? Thank you, medic. Come on. There we go. They're introspective essay. That's what it's called. They're narrative essays, right? Where I talk about something, a video essay, where I talk about something and I give my opinion on it. And it's very much so in a similar style to Jay Schlatt, where I use my personal experiences and my my outlook to sort of give newfound perspective on topics, right? Where instead of just talking about objectively, you know, Team Fortress 2, like one of my videos, instead I talk about like different things of what it's meant for me and what I know it's meant for other people as well. You know, that sort of deal, I feel like it has some parallels to Jay Schlatt. Personally, I feel like that is kind of similar. And it's not just Jay Schlatt. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just talking about Jay Schlatt. There's also other people like, I don't know, Tommy Innit, many small creators as well that I'm now coming up with. And we have many similarities on paper, you know, where it's like, oh, we're both small creators, we're both inspired by Jay Schlatt, you know, we strive to make better content and stuff like that. But there is still some very tangible differences between them and I. Not even just in like, oh, I make one type of content, they make the other type of content. I'm a bit more serious or emotional, or less focused on editing, less focused on success, whatever. You know, regardless, there will be differences, right? But I'd say comparing me and them, or me and Jay Schlatt, is like saying pop or soda, despite meaning LaCroix. You know, no, I'll just let that. Because while we both have a lot of similar core attributes, you know, I'm inspired by Markiplier and Jacksepticeye, and like growing up with that, I always wanted to be a YouTuber. But it's interesting because I didn't always want to be just a YouTuber. I've gone through many different phases of wanting many different things. And even now, I don't find myself too insanely attached to, you know, being a YouTuber or anything like that. And I do think it's interesting because if I did not have last summer, there's a very well possibility that I would be basically 1-to-1 to Jay Schlatt. Because, I mean, for a while there, yeah, that's all I really thought about, that's all I wanted, and that's kind of what I thought I deserved. You know, I thought that it was going to be something that I was good at, I was good enough to have, I just didn't care enough yet, you know, which was wrong and also stupid. And so, this last summer has really helped put things in perspective, where now I'm no longer, like, so obsessed. Oh, crap. Oh, frick. I'm no longer so obsessed with, you know, being a YouTuber just to be a YouTuber. Now I know very much so it's not, that is like the worst possible reason to want it done. You know, it's to want to be a YouTuber to just for, you know, YouTube is a very dumb and cellular way to think about things. It's comedically bad. Do not do that. It is not a good way. And if you think that you can be a content creator, but you're just, you know, not doing it because you don't have the time yet, that's not the reason. It's because you can't. And not in the sense where it's like, oh, you do not and will not ever have this ability. It's a lot more in the sense of you do not currently withhold the skills to do it. You can, 100%. Everybody's potential is very, very high. You know, much higher than most people expect. But regardless of that fact, you haven't reached it yet. You still have work that you need to get done. And that should discourage you. That should encourage you to make more stuff. It should encourage you to improve and make content. Apathy should not be your reasoning for failure. You know, I think that's one of the worst reasons. And it was a shame that was the reason why I let myself stay so behind. Wow. Okay. And the reason why I say that watching like comparing me and Jay Schlatt is like comparing is saying soda and soda for something that is Sprite and LaCroix is because as I was watching Anthony Padilla's interview with Jay Schlatt, I realized how incredibly connected Jay Schlatt is to specifically YouTube. Right, you know, he talks about it all the time. It's overdone. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But still, it's a thing that he's not afraid to talk about how much he likes YouTube and stuff like that. But I didn't. It really clicked whenever I was watching it. Jay Schlatt only likes YouTube. Like, YouTube specifically. I like YouTube because it's a very accessible way to create. My love is not for YouTube. My love is for creation. It's for making things, making stories, telling different situations, different circumstances. I love being able to tell stories. I love being able to look at reality and talk about it in the scope and in the lens of others and whimsical worlds. That's my favorite. You know, I love being able to do stuff like that. And certainly Jay Schlatt seems to do it in a sense, but a lot more focused around YouTube. I don't want to be a YouTuber. I want to be a creator, right? And I'd say for most people, that's kind of a pompous thing to say. You know, it's like, I'm not a YouTuber. No. I'm a creator. I'm a savant. But right now, I'm not. I am just a YouTuber because I haven't made anything but YouTube videos. Someday I might be more than that. I have aspirations to be more than that. But right now, I'm not. And that's okay. I won't pretend like it isn't, you know? It's fine to admit where you're at. It would be ridiculous for me to say something that is untrue. It wouldn't be ridiculous. It would just be a lie. And while lies are funny, they are not good for the soul. I don't know. They're just funny. But it's something that I was watching because that interview is so funny. For anybody who hasn't seen it, I would really recommend it because it's just hilarious. Ow. It's just hilarious. His dynamic from like swapping from serious to joking, from being a character to being himself. You can't even tell who's talking at any particular time. You know, it's it, because it can be either. It can be either or. You could be Jay Schlatt could be talking, or Jared, I suppose, which is, that if there was one final thing that can make him less appealing, less hot, less twinkish, or whatever, that would be it. That's it. He crossed the final line. Jared, as a what? Oh, he's just going to air blast it away. Okay. Did he spawn in my sentry? Yippee! So that's what I've been thinking about. There's been a lot of stuff that's been going on for the last week, but I feel like I'm finally sort of starting to come off of it. For those who don't know, this last week, for whatever reason, one of my videos just did insanely well. Where's everybody at? It feels like there should be more people at the front lines. For those who do not know, the last couple weeks, like basically 2 weeks now, my videos have been doing insanely well. At least one of them has. And it's not just one video that's doing insanely well, or like anything absolutely, unbelievably well. A video that was doing good, like it was doing good. Well, a little underwhelming. It was the video called Jay Schlatt, I think The Art of Perfecting an Audience or something like that. I don't know. It's been literal like 8 months since I made that video. Like, it cannot be overstated. Give me you. It cannot be overstated how delayed this this success has been. I'm gonna die. It has been insanely latent, and it might be because of. I won't even pretend like I have any idea why. I have no idea why it is, but still, it's something that I'm gonna appreciate. The video was. I just said its name. Why am I repeating myself? And it started off doing not very well. I mean, it was right after I uploaded my still to this day best performing video. And I mean, it kind of flopped, and I figured I knew the reason why. And then it has since then just skyrocketed in views. I can show the graph. I'll show the graph. It's kind of funny, how clear it's just not. It's right in the bottom, and then it just skyrockets for no real reason. What's that? That's all I wanted to talk about. What do you guys call it? Do you guys call it pop, soda, or cola? If you call it Coke, I'm going to delete your comment. But I'm interested in hearing your guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for 122 tort. Man, they're a professional. Thank you. And I'll see you next week. Next Friday. I'll see you next Friday.